Okay, let's look at this addiction thing, everybody. We just did our energy exchange where it showed that the energy the collective would most benefit from having released was the energy of addiction. And the energy we were going to call in its place was freedom. Well, we love that because what is addiction if not an absolute chain and a bondage to something else? And so what we were calling in was freedom from that, which is beautiful and perfect. But first we did the energy exchange, which is great, right? It's this breathing exercise. Well, now what do? Well, we take our very same pendulum, we take those very same charts, and we look at the root of that addiction. What might be causing it? What might have caused it in some past life that you're still carrying? And then what might be blocking us to our freedom? So let's do a peek there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to ask, what's the root? What is the root of this? So I go to my first chart. This is called spiritual response technique. It's a very specific set of charts, a very specific modality. And there's all kinds of dowsing, but not all dowsing is spiritual response technique. So what I'm doing is a very specific modality that was developed back in the 80s. If you want to learn more about it, you can Google it, or you can direct message me or leave a comment, and I'm happy to share some resources with you. So the first thing that came up, the root of this addiction, is about a conscious program. It's a programming in the conscious mind. So let's see if there's more we can find out about that. So thing one, we know it's a conscious program. What's the next thing that these charts are going to show us? Through our connection to our higher self. So it's my higher self talking to your higher self. These are also programs the soul is unaware of. That's literally what this pendulum says. So there's programs in the conscious mind, but they're programs that the soul is not aware of. So we're operating some kind of programming. Our soul's not even in on the gig. And so what do we do? What do we do? How do we find out more about this program? Because the more we find out about it, the better off we will be at releasing it. Okay, here we go. So this is when we start to really reveal what's happening here. This is when we get out that good old magnifying glass. This is when we get out the microscope. In fact, we're going all the way, and we're going all the way deep into the details here is what's happening. And the first thing that just came up was openness to receiving greater good. How many of us are having these addictions because we're actually not open to having the greater good happen to us? And we've been operating this program of, I am not worthy, I am not good enough, I don't deserve good things, I can't have good things. This could be ancestral programming for many of you. This could go back so very far in your DNA, in your heritage. It could be in so many of your family members, programming, which is just like, we're not the family that gets greater good. We're the family that is self-destructive. We're the family that's always struggling. We're the family that doesn't have freedom from addiction. Oh, addiction is just part of our family line. It's just in our DNA. It's just whatever. It's the belief, the conscious belief that you deserve addiction more than you deserve greater good. So take a second to just think about that, because that's what's coming up here. So the first thing that I just do is I just say, spirit, clear it. Whatever we can just clear of that nonsense, we're just going to clear it now. And this is me, my high self, saying to the high self of y'all and of the collective, just like, can we wipe that out of the way, collective consciousness? So here's our collective consciousness that we're all sort of sharing in. And can we take this bit here that is telling us this lie and this story that we aren't worthy of receiving greater good? Can we just wipe that off the map? So let's just all think together for a moment about like taking our nice, our paper towel and our little spray cleaner, and we're just clearing that off of our conscious minds. We don't need it. We don't want it. It's not ours. Wherever that came from, I don't want to believe that. Do you want to believe that? Do you want to believe that you are not worthy of receiving greater good? I would really doubt that. As a soul, as a being in your core, you want to believe that. That is something that has been given to you. So we're first just going to ask for it to be cleared. Then we're going to ask, is there something specific in my charts that you can show us that will make it easier for us to clear this block that, we don't believe that we can receive greater good? So I'm kind of seeing a major swing here. So I'm going to ask a question because there's an option over here. There's an option over here. So I'm going to ask, is this 6A or is this chart 20 that I need to look at next? So is this 6A or chart 20? 6A. So I got to go to 6A, which is actually the icky energy chart that we found this addiction on in the first place. So what energy needs cleared here? Hate of women. Hate of women needs to be cleared. There's a connection here with this outdated belief system about not deserving greater good and hate of women. Vengefulness, maybe we are vengeful towards women. I wasn't expecting this. Were you? Stinginess is coming up. Stinginess is so aligned with not thinking you deserve greater good, right? Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse, the energy of sexual abuse is coming up, so that could be the basis of some of this addiction for some of you. Depression, wow, there's a lot of energies coming up here. Depression, bitterness. Okay, ego, again, hate of women. So we're just clearing all of those energies now. Hate of women, vengefulness, sexual abuse, sexual coveting, whatever the one that just came up. We're clearing all of the energies on this chart that are preventing us from having the freedom that we're looking for. The freedom from the outdated belief system that says that you are not worthy of greater good. And so you might as well just continue on with the lie and the story that this addiction is just part of who you are and it's just something you'll have for the rest of your life. So yeah, just think about releasing that. And for me, when I tell you to think about releasing it, really what that means is like opening yourself up to have that energy dissipate from your body. Releasing it to me is just like, okay, you can go. I don't need to hold on to you. You can just dissipate. You can just turn into steam or distillate that just floats off into the air and doesn't exist inside you anymore. That's when we see the most benefit in this work, is when we are truly open to letting the thing go, when we truly are open to letting the addiction go, and frankly when we're really ready to let all of these energies go. Hate of women, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? Is that your family story? Is that your story? Is it preventing you from accepting greater good? Is it preventing you from releasing vengeance? Is it preventing you from releasing the abuse that you went through as a child? Are you so hell-bent on hating women that you're not ready to release the addiction you have because the addiction is tied to the hate of women and you like hanging on to hate of women? There's a reason why you're hanging on to that hate of women. Again, it could be something that your mother did to you. It could be your mother's hate of women for something that her mother did to her. But it's an energy that was created at a certain point that is then shared amongst the family, shared amongst the community, and then held on to, knowingly or unknowingly, by you. You're hanging on to this hate of women. You're hanging on to this vengefulness. You're hanging on to the abuse that you went through. And you're using that. And maybe this addiction isn't even, yeah, that's what's happening here. We're not talking about substance addiction right now. We're talking about addiction to these icky energies. That's what we're talking about. And I just, again, how do we get here? I just know. I can't explain it. It's just like I get this sense, this inner knowing that's like, yeah, the addiction isn't to the substance. Maybe you are addicted to a substance and that is part of what's going on here. But the true addiction is to hate. The true addiction you're suffering with right now is hate of women. The true addiction you're suffering with right now is vengefulness. You're addicted to the abuse that you went through and the energy that is attached to that abuse that you have now made your conscious program. It is your operating system. It is the way your mind first operates out into the world. When you meet somebody, you're meeting somebody with this energy. When you meet someone new, you're not coming to them as an open book, ready to receive greater good in this relationship. No, you're coming at them with this thought, this feeling, this addiction to hate, vengefulness, violence, abuse. And that is preventing you from your freedom, and that is preventing you from receiving greater good. So right now, if you're ready, you can say, I release myself from any addiction to the negative energies that have created my conscious mind programs. I release myself from my addiction to hate. I release myself from my addiction to hate of women. I release myself of my addiction to violence and vengefulness. I release myself from the addiction of negativity. And I now open myself up to freedom. I open myself up to letting this go. I don't have to identify with this anymore. I can figure out a new way of being. And for some of you, there might be a fear there. Who am I? Who am I without this hate of women? Who am I without this vengefulness? Who am I without this darkness? Who am I without the story of my abuse constantly running in my mind? Who am I if I actually accept good things into my life? Who am I then? I don't get to tell the same story over and over and over again. I don't get to play out the same crap over and over and over again. You mean now that I've released all this negative energy, I actually have to like show up in life as kind of a happy, decent person? That can be scary to think about that, especially if this is abuse you suffered from a very young age. And now I'm asking you to let the identity with that abuse go. I'm asking you to release the energy of that abuse so that you can function in the world without it. I know that that can be a really painful thing to think about. And for many of you, you don't see the separation between your abuse and the awful things you've went through and yourself as an entity, as a being. They are one, they are merged. And in that, you have no freedom to live your life and to accept greater good because you have become what has happened to you. You've become the abuse. You've become the hate. You have become addicted to that mental operating system that says, I hate all women. I cannot let women close to me. And in fact, I should now abuse them for the abuse that they did upon me, my family, whatever the case may be. Can you release yourself to operate without vengefulness? And you can, but you have to mean it and you have to want it. And this is again when we say, I release myself from the energy of vengefulness now. I release myself from the energy of vengefulness now. I open myself up to freedom. Okay, interesting. Who knew? I wasn't expecting this to be an addiction to icky energies, but here we are. There's always something interesting that comes up. So now I'm going to ask, is there anything else about this root of addiction you want me to look at? And I'm getting a no. So no, we're done with that. So then let's look at this freedom thing. What can we do to open ourselves up to receiving the freedom from this addiction to icky energies? So first I'm going to ask a question about how open are we? So are we open? What percent between 0 and 100 are we open to releasing this addiction? 100%. That's beautiful. What percent are we blocked to releasing this addiction? 0%. That's beautiful. So then what percent are we open to our freedom? 100%. And what percent are we blocked to our freedom? 0%. Beautiful. So we don't have to look into this today. You're already released. Just right now, you are already released to accept freedom from this addiction to hate. The hate of women, to vengefulness, to violence, to abuse, right now. I mean, I don't know. That's just what I'm getting. So there you go. All right. I'm going to ask one more thing, which is there anything else we can do to benefit the collective today? So I put my pendulum right here on my chart. Is there anything else we can do to benefit the collective today? And I'm getting chart 5, which is an interesting one. Negative motivations, blocks, and interferences is what it's called in spiritual response technique. Discarnates in our aura. So again, we are an incarnated being. There are discarnated beings, discarnated energies, discarnated souls that have not found their next job, who have not found the next thing they want to do as awareness, as consciousness, and they're hanging out here. And I could absolutely see this because sometimes we are more open to discarnates when we are hurt, when we have been traumatized and we haven't let that trauma go. It's like a signal. It's like a bat signal that says, hey, I'm also traumatized just like you. I am also operating in low frequency just like you. Here, we can come hang out. And you have been sending off this frequency of, here, you can come hang out with me. I am hanging out in the darkness. I am hanging out in the lower realms. And again, this is not necessarily something you've done intentionally, but it is something that has happened. So we release all of you from the discarded energies that were attracted to that low frequency vibe that you were hanging on to for however long you were hanging on to it. And release them now back to source, back to their right and perfect location. Whew, washing them in love and grace. washing you in love and grace. And can you accept that? Again, here's your big question for yourself. When I say that, when I say I am sending you love and grace, can you allow yourself to feel that? Because I think if you are really open to it, you should be able to feel it, because it's coming from a very sincere place in my heart. I want to genuinely send you love and grace so that you can genuinely send these discarnates love and grace so that they can leave and they can leave you alone. And again, you can now operate inside of more freedom, because yeah, those discarnates can take away your freedom. They can also be preventing you from operating in a higher frequency and from, climbing up the chain of our map of consciousness. I don't have it on me right now, but basically there's just, like you can see in the red, all these low vibration energies. And then as the rainbow climbs and we get up into indigo, then we see this is where all the beautiful energies live. And our discarnate beings, they like to hang down here in this low frequency stuff. This is where they operate. This is their frequency. And so they're down here, right? And if we can rise ourselves up out of that lower frequency stuff, then we can distance ourselves from those icky energies, from the icky beings, from the discarnates that would want to, leech off of our life force and off of our energy. So that was the final thing we were going to do for everybody today. Now we're saying we're doing 100% of 100% of mop up. That's when we're just clearing out anything that I didn't get to today in the charts, anything that would remain hidden or unseen. We're calling it into the light, into awareness. And then we also give ourselves some replacement energies. We know the first replacement energy was freedom. And now we're calling in helpfulness. We are calling in joy, helpfulness and joy. Helpfulness and joy, helpfulness and joy. Those are your replacement energies today, folks. And you can say right now, I open myself up to helpfulness and joy. Whew, let out a good exhale. All right, everybody, thanks for watching today. I hope that this was helpful in some way. As always, reach out to me, www.thepointandstone.com, if you have any other questions or any interest at all in dowsing, in spiritual response technique, or in having a one-to-one session with me, which can be a whole lot of fun, I promise. All right, y'all, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time on another episode of Clearing with Kate.